Yeah. All right. So let's just bust right into it. Everybody, welcome to
Yep,
Rock Titan Live. I'm Scotty J, and it is a metalcore kind of day.
I guess so.
Yeah, because we got Adam from Lorna Shore with us, man. Adam, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Good. So, yeah, like you were saying, you've got Immortal coming out in just a couple of days here, man. Third full length album out of you guys. How's it
hmm
feel?
It's good. It's a lot of mixed emotions, but it's exciting overwhelmingly to finally have this record out. We've been sitting on it for a long period of time. We want it out. I know everyone else wants it to have it out. So we're just excited to get it out. And yeah, it's overwhelmingly positive. So we're excited.
Well, that's good. That's good. And I know this is your first with Century Media,
hmm
and it's your first since, Tom Barber, of course, back when you had Flesh Coffin being your
Right.
second album.
hmm
So, um, it's wild, everything, of course, surrounding Immortal. And I guess, to a certain extent, you've got to be feeling rather immortal here. A lot of wild emotions that have got to
Yes.
be going on with this. Because, one, again, like we just said, it's your first one without Tom. Then you get a new lead singer. Not going to name him right now for a variety of reasons. But, obviously it's kind of, I guess, a one and done with him. And here you are having put so much time and effort with Austin into this, and and you bring Andrew on board. Some of your greatest work to date, which I'm sure when your fans listen to it, just at face value, just to hear the new Lorna Shore, I am pretty confident your fans are going to be losing their minds, because this is hardcore. You know what I'm saying? Of course you do. But I guess why don't you share with your fans right now, some of the feelings you have about this third album, everything that's gone into it, and then everything that's transpired, of course.
Um. Let me see where to begin and how to go about
I
this.
know it's a lot, right?
It's a lot. Yeah, it was easier doing this like a couple months ago, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I guess the point of Immortal for us was to really like push ourselves outside of the box that we've been constantly labeled in. I think we really wanted to display ourselves in a way that was like a mature metal band as opposed to being like kids playing deathcore. And I'm not knocking it because I mean, that's nothing. It's nothing against that, but we've always seen ourselves as more than just that because we draw from more influences outside of like the box that we're in. And we're like, well, why are we not displaying this in a way that sees fit to how we see the band? So that was the point of the whole record was to write a mature metal record,
Hmm.
and that was like the come from like going into the record was like we need to write we like want to write a mature record, like we want to display ourselves that's like accurate to who we are as musicians and as artists. And then we felt we accomplished that, and I think, but to some extent, I think as an artist, you're never like satisfied with your work. I think you're lying if you tell yourself that you love everything you do. So, but we got to, I think we got to the point where we're like we felt content. We're like this is like a good representation of the band, like currently. Um, and then we were ready for the record to come out in the summer, and then dealt with a whole bunch of industry stuff, to which led us to Century Media, which we were really excited about that because I think now the record I think is reaching the audience that we feel it deserves,
Right.
and I think it'd be hitting places that I think would give the record justice. So we're definitely really excited that this did um, set us back a little bit because I think it's a positive setback as opposed to like a negative one. Because I think now I feel like the record is going to get the light that it deserves as opposed to just kind of being put out and then just like that's it.
Hmm.
Um, and then dealing with the whole like vocalist stuff, like it's definitely frustrating. But I think what I've gathered from this is that like from everyone that's mentioning this up to me or as well as to Austin, that like I think this is a band that isn't predicated off of individual members but predicated off of the band, which I feel like a lot of bands are just based around like one guy, like whether it be like he is the main dude in the band and like he's the spectacle. I feel that this band just seems like it's just more of like a bigger thing, and that's what me and Austin has always seen this as something that's larger than ourselves individually, and we've always seen this band as just like a bigger thing than us, and it seems that's the response we're getting after changing a vocalist. It's like okay, the band is still the band, which is awesome to feel that because like the variable that's still consistent is myself and Austin. And after losing Tom, it felt the same thing. We're like, oh shit, we lost our vocalist, and like, what are we gonna do? And then we still existed as a band, and people like the band. And then we find, get a new vocalist, do that, and then get rid of that, and everyone's still like, yeah, like, still like Lorna Shore, and I still like feel the essence that is the band. So it's really awesome to have that experience. and it's like definitely getting me through this like rough time, because it's been like really really hard on me, considering it's like it happened a month before the album comes out. So like all the excitement I had after releasing Immortal, like the music video, kind of went downhill, because it's like now I'm facing this and like kind of tarnished the release in my eyes. So what started out being like a mature display of the band turned into like me having to reevaluate the band, if you will.
Right on, right on. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But I'm glad you touched on some of that, Adam. And I guess just going back, and it's wild because I mean, Immortal. What a great title for an album, given what you're going through right here. And I guess especially when Tom left. I guess my question for you is: did you ever question the mortality of Lorna Shore? Did you ever think, at any point in time, that for like you and Austin, maybe you guys would have to move on, create a different brand, create a different project, or were you just determined to say, no, you know what, it's been a really great run with Tom, but we're going to move on. We're going to find another vocalist and keep Lorna Shore going.
I mean, we would be lying if we didn't like have those thoughts. I think it would be like inhuman to be like to not have that exist. But did we specifically live in that place of like maybe this shouldn't exist? No, we thought about it, but then like me and Austin were very confident in like, well, because how I framed it to him was like, well, the people that make all the decisions in the band are still existing. Like I write a lot of the music, Austin helps me write a lot of the music. The people that are still writing the songs, like how the songwriting process was, is I would start writing the music, me and Austin get together, finish the song, and then just send it off. And not that like vocals don't add to it, but it was like all the creation of ideas was just given to a vocalist. And then it's like, okay, you do your part on top of vocals. And we would be also involved in that, where we're like suggesting ideas, or, hey, try this out, or try these lyrical concepts, or whatnot. So we had our hands very involved in it when it came to like artwork. Like Flesh Coffin, for instance, was like me going back and forth with the designer, being like, let's come up with a very simple symbol that when you scroll through Instagram, you see it and you know exactly what it is right away. And that's the symbol that got tattooed by thousands of people, or I don't know, a lot. I see it almost every show we go to. Someone has that symbol tattooed on them, and that's something that myself and Austin came up with, or like thought about. And that's the music video direction, any creative vision that we had for the band, any sort of industry like management stuff is stuff that I dealt with. So like the upkeep of the band internally is still in the band. Like it's just more so like, and I know in our world that many people are very attached to vocalists, and right. I get that.
Right.
But I think that we felt very confident, like we know what to do with this band. We're very confident in our abilities, and we are the ones that we feel that have made this stay afloat and be what it is because of the decisions that we've made. So like we felt very confident in that. So that's why we were able to change vocalists, because we're like, well, we know what we create and what we do. So we just want to find someone that is willing to come on board and like be part of this process. So, the album name Immortal was something that, like I think I said before, is that it's something that we came up with before anything was written. Like we felt that the band was immortal after that whole like Tom experience, not right. The whole. And we were, and it was something that like I was thinking about at work. Like I was thinking about like what could be like a cool song, like an album name that's like very like concise and to the point. I didn't want some like long-winded, I don't know, like weird death metal like album name that no one's gonna remember. I was like, let's just think of one word that's to the point that defines the band. And I thought about that, and then one day Austin came to me. He was like, hey, I thought about an album name. Like, what if we went with like Immortal? And I was like, that's crazy, because I literally was thinking the same thing. And I was like, this is exactly it. So it was like, that's when we knew what it was. So I was like, I worked like pondering it for like a couple of days, and then we just like got together, and he just mentioned, I thought about the idea of like Immortal, and he mentioned a bunch of other names. And I was like, no, dude, like literally I was thinking about this like last week. Like, let's go ahead and go with that. Because I think CJ's idea was to call it King of Deception, and I feel like that would just be very generic deathcore, and we didn't want to do that.
Right on. And of course, Immortal is the most recent official music video that you guys dropped too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, very cool. I love the visuals and just the whole theatrical, orchestral, backing of it. It took that song to another level.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, especially, with you and Austin. I don't know. Austin, does he drink energy drinks? Is Austin an energy drink guy?
Actually, not really. He during the recording process of Immortal was like, he just started drinking coffee for like the first time in his life. And like, I'm someone who's a big caffeine addict. Like I, drink a ton of coffee and like a lot of caffeine. I take a lot of pre-workout. Like I had to cut back on caffeine. He was like during like beginning of last year was like starting to be like, I kind of like coffee. And I'm like, crazy. I've been telling you to do this for like a long period of time. And like we started working on the record in like February. So that was like we, I think, and myself, him, and Josh in the studio were drinking coffee like every day.
Well, man, alive. I mean, you shred, of course, but man, the way he moves is, just, well, it is
Yeah.
deathcore, of course, but man,
Right. Yeah.
pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. I guess all that being said, with Immortal, the new album coming out in just a couple of days, people. So be on the lookout. Lorna Shore's got their newest piece out. Since the Flesh Coffin, days and everything you had done, was there anything specific, other than having to move beyond your days with Tom, but was there anything where you and Austin sat down consciously and said, you know what, we really want to take things in a certain direction. We want to evolve on from this, try some new things. Was there anything really specific that you had targeted?
Oh yeah, we definitely really had discussions because we before every record we think about like what is it that we want to accomplish with this record. Like we did the same thing with Flesh Coffin. We're like, what do we want to accomplish with this record? We're like, well, let's just write a more concise, understandable record, which is why we developed more structure, which is why we developed more like quote unquote choruses. And I think that the songs were a lot more digestible because Psalms it wasn't. So our main focus was like, let's just try to write a more mature sounding version of the band.
Right on.
And when we sat down for Immortal, we're like, well, we've been sitting on Flesh Coffin for a while. We know like the pros and cons about the record from our perspective. I was like, so let's focus on the pros and let's see like what the cons were and what we can do to evolve them. And that's what we thought about. We're like, well, let's just try writing some songs that like are more mature. Let's try writing songs that are not focused around like heavy breakdowns and like meant to be like, good songs and that have these moments, but they're not the shining parts of the song. It's like these exist in the song. It's part of it, and I think it's a function of the song, but it's not really the main premise of it.
Right on.
We're more focused on like let's just write like good metal songs. Like that was our basis, and that was like where our come from was not to be like okay, let's just do the same thing that's been working. It was like let's focus on the things that are working that we like about Flesh Coffin. Let's and keep doing it and doing it better. But let's also focus on like what we felt was kind of didn't work, and let's try to like maybe adjust that and fix them so it become more positive and productive. And like one thing that we noticed was just like the structural format and like the a lot of times we were writing songs on Flesh Coffin, like a breakdown would like compromise it. And we're like, well, why are we doing it? Because of the sake of like, we're supposed to do it, quote unquote, or like, we don't need to do it this time around. Like, we don't fucking want to put heavy parts in the song. We don't have to. There's no one telling us to. And we also were feeling like the record Flesh Coffin was like not really that dynamic. We were like, okay, even though we went into these songs being like, they all have their different like purposes. When I listened to it, like after that, like years later, it all feels like it's kind of similar songs. We're going into Immortal. We're like, if we're going to write like a heavy song, let's make sure it's a heavy song and not like kind of putting one foot in, one foot out. If we're going to write a really metal song, let's write a really metal song. If we're going to write a song that's like a little bit more emotional and like in that realm, like let's make it so it's all emotional, not like technical, not heavy. And like, for instance, the song The Obsession is that like, it's our first song that's like not technical. It's not heavy. It just feels just like an emotional song as opposed to like trying to do like a Lorna Shore song and like dabbling in emotional elements. Or like if we're doing a song that's really inspired by like a certain sound, let's go ahead and like full force pedal to the metal and do that as opposed to just like one foot in, one foot out. So like we fully committed to like, if we're going to do something, let's go ahead and do it as opposed to just like dancing and like adding those elements in like subtly. And I think that was the main thing we did when we came into Immortal was like, this needs to be a dynamic album. Let's focus on these songs from that perspective. And let's keep doing what we felt worked on the last record.
Dig it, man. Dig it. Now, obviously, you've got all this anticipation and excitement built up with Immortal coming out. You're first with Century Media. Given some of the adversity that you guys have recently been having to deal with, how important, how special has it been the fact that Century Media has really stood by you guys in, supporting the release of this album?
It's been really awesome because like I think when we lost Tom after after the year Flesh Coffin came out,
yeah,
we felt very alone. It just felt like it was just me, Austin, and our old guitar player Connor. Like we didn't feel like we had like a whole team behind us. And I think now we have a lot of support with like management, the label, our agent, like everyone basically involved with the band has our back through this time. So it's nice to just have like a community of people as opposed to just the band and we're just like, I don't know what to do. Whereas like having the industry behind us is really awesome because they've experienced things at all different magnitudes of levels. we've only just experienced things in the scope of the band. So
Right.
like having our manager Jason, who's been experienced in like doing this for years, he has seen everything time and time again. Having a label that's experienced different things, like they understand that. Like for instance, Mike Gitter like texted me today, and like I talked to him regularly. So it feels awesome to have like a label not only in your corner, but also like cares about you genuinely as a person. So it feels like we're not just like a band on the roster. It just feels like they still care about us as individuals, and having that like tie to that makes it, you don't feel alone, and you feel like you have a lot of support in your corner, especially during a time like this.
Yeah, man. Right on, right on. That's special. And again, everyone, we're here with Adam De Micco, lead guitarist for Lorna Shore. So moving forward, when Immortal comes out, you guys got to support this baby. And I know
Yes.
that, there are tours on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do? You got to have
Yep.
someone singing these songs, man.
Yeah, well, that's in the works right now. Actually, we're in the process of locking that in. I'm not going to say who or what or whatnot, but we're pretty near and close to it, and everyone that I've sent his stuff to has been super excited about.
Okay.
From our producer Josh to the label to management to everyone has been like unanimously being like, this is phenomenal. So it's good to like have that outside feedback. So that's exciting to finally like have that like piece locked in, and yeah, and then we're going to go to Europe in March.
Yes.
So it's exciting that our first tour, once Immortal is out, is going to be in Europe. We've been dying to go back since we went in 2017, and it's awesome to be back over in Europe. And I know that the rest of this year is going to be filled with a lot of touring, and really hoping to tour in territories that we haven't been to yet. I know we're going to be touring in the States. That's pretty self-explanatory, but I think that we're also going to really focus on hitting other regions we haven't hit yet. And that's exciting to me, and hopefully that's exciting to other people that haven't experienced the band yet.
Well, now you're a Jersey boy, are you not?
I'm from Jersey, yes, but I just actually literally just relocated to North Carolina like last week.
Well,
So
North
like
Carolina is a beautiful state.
it is.
I have family, down in that neck of the woods, but I'm just outside Philadelphia.
Right.
So,
I was just outside Philadelphia, believe me.
yeah, man. So it's like it would be great to see you guys up in this neck of the woods. Let me ask you something. I know you got to get going. You have
No,
other interviews.
there's no rush. You're the last interview of the day.
Oh, man. Well, I feel special, Adam. Thank you. All right. Well, then we're going to take up the next hour. Everybody, I'm going to have Adam here for the next hour. So
That's fine.
bear down, sit back with a nice drink, get yourselves comfortable. No, I'm just teasing. But, oh, God. So, with the next vocalist, all right, that you're looking to support Immortal with, do you kind of have it in your mind where, you're just looking for a voice to get through with the touring? Or are you going to be really looking at this person for album number 4 for Lorna Shore? Or is that too far off in the distance?
No, I think our main objective is we don't want to be back in the situation again.
Right.
Like I think that we got through the Tom situation. I think we felt we got through it unscathed, and I think that it was a clean break. I feel, he went on and do his thing. We did our thing. It didn't object to him. It didn't object to us. Like it kind of like allowed him to do his thing, allowed us to do our thing. And we're like, okay, you know what? This actually works out for both of us. Everyone involved was like, or who was involved either in Tom's stuff or in our worlds, like this actually works out better for everyone involved. I'm like, okay, cool, great. You know what? This is like maybe this was meant to happen. I'm on good terms with Tom. I talk to him regularly. Like everything's all good in that regard. And then as we finally got through that unscathed, or felt like unscathed, like we don't want to, and then we got this situation coming about. We don't want to be back in this situation. We don't want to keep having to change vocalists. We don't want to keep having to find new people because, like, I don't know, it's been frustrating in on this regard. So we want to find the person that's going to be the person because, like, I think the difference between our last vocalist was it was very apparent that it was him and us are separate. Like myself, Austin, and Andrew were all on the same page. It felt like we were a team, and it felt like this person was more about them as opposed to this is a giant team. And we want someone involved that sees this as a team, that is like a growth as a unit as opposed to like serving ourselves. Because I've always been going into this as like this is a team effort, regardless of as much as like I want it to benefit me, it has to also benefit everyone else and everyone involved, and it has to come together as a group. Because if we're not coming together as a group, we're not going to be able to get anything done. And we really want to make sure we have someone that's like in here for the long haul, that wants to play on board with us and wants to make this like a team effort as opposed to like serving ourselves. because we never did that. We never looked at the band as being like, how does this serve me individually? It's always been like, how does this serve the band? And I think that's been our focus on finding a person, is like, we want to have someone that is part of that process, because it would feel very incomplete to be like, hey, let's just get through touring and then like figure that out.
Sure.
Because it's very uninspiring to be like, this guy is 1 foot in, 1 foot out. We want to find someone that's like here to stay. And that's how like it was with Andrew, for instance, to give you adding a recent member. Like Andrew, when he came, he was like just going to fill in, and then he just like dove headfirst and be like, I want to be the guitar player of this band, and really committed to playing that role. And like it worked out really, really well. Like fully immersing yourself into this process. And we want to have someone that's fully immersed in this process, because it's going to be hard to do extensive touring with someone that really only is like not making this a priority and like 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Right on, man. Right on. I'm with you. And I know all your fans are too. So that's awesome. Great answer. I guess, one other thing that, I'm kind of thinking of here, and I don't want to spoil anything, and I know you got to play everything very close to the vest. You're not going to just release anything that you're not allowed to speak about. But I got to prod. I got to prod you a little bit.
Sure.
So are we thinking, for the next voice of Lorna Shore, are we thinking an already established industry professional, or could this be someone that no one is even familiar with?
It depends on what you mean by industry established. Are we talking about someone that we're already familiar with and like is a vocalist in a
someone
band?
That everyone in the, death metal, metalcore, whatever genre you want to call it, a vocalist that, a good portion of the public is already going to be familiar with other projects?
It's kind of a hard answer. I think that there's people that are going to be familiar with him, but there's also people who don't know who he is.
Okay.
Which is kind of cool, because I think has enough credibility and have done this for a long period of time, but hasn't been in the light that I think that he may deserve to be in.
Okay.
And I feel that, like, I don't know. That's just kind of how I see the situation. That people, like, I think if you're involved in the niche of the world, you might know who he is and might be familiar with him. But I think in the grand scheme of, like, it's not like we're taking a member from a bigger band and like someone that was like, that size and like putting him in our band. It's more someone that was like, I think people would know, is familiar with, but like isn't as established as like
as Lorna Shore.
Right, exactly.
Right on. All right, cool. Well, everybody, again, I'm here with Adam De Micco. They got their brand new album Immortal coming out. Oh man, just a couple of days and then the tour will ensue. Everybody, I am Scotty J with Rock Titan. Thank you for your time. Please go out all social media, follow, subscribe, and everything else. Adam, thank you so much for your time, man.
Oh, thank you.
All right, man. Rock Titan TV. We're out.
Yes, we are.